Hey there, Linda here with Elevate Leadership Consulting. Welcome back to today's leadership tips. I have 5 tips to share with you today on how to support those managing supervisors who you may find are struggling to overcome some of their leadership skills gaps. And that's okay, because we all have skills gaps. But when we know what those are and someone has pointed them out, you know what? The best way and the best thing to do is to support their learning and growth in those areas so that they can become, or they can move from just being good leaders to being eventually great leaders for your business, organization, or company. So for today's tips, what I will be doing is sharing with you some of the strategies that I find will be helpful so that you can support those individuals who may have a few hurdles to overcome so that they can move from being a good leader to being a great one, just like you. So if you're in a leadership role currently right now, or maybe you are new to your leadership role, or maybe you're just here because you want a refresher and these tips, you like watching these videos because these tips are great. They're great help to you and what you do in your role. Now, if you are in a leadership role and you have multiple people reporting to you and multiple people are directly reporting to that person, you probably have a pool of good supervising managers that are leaders. You probably have a pool of average supervising managing leaders, and you probably have a few that maybe need a little bit more work than others, right? And you know who those individuals are. So we do not need to speak or discuss or talk about those individuals further, because after today, you will know what you can do to support these individuals as you move forward. It is so important, you guys, that as frontline managing supervisors, to not just supervise, but also to lead, to inspire, as well as to motivate others. We want to make sure that in combination of supervision, it involves leadership because it creates a workforce environment that is a great place to work, and also a great place for individuals to learn, to grow, and to develop, as well as creating a space to cultivate future leadership. It's a proven fact that if you are going to have a successfully run business organization, it's going to be so important for you to figure out strategies that you'll need to put in place or have in place that supports you in attracting, engaging, as well as retaining diverse talent. Because if you don't, your competition will, and your competition right now is everybody else around you. So I want you to stop for a minute and maybe ask yourself, are you managing supervisors who are leading, or are they just supervising? It's not always easy to spot sometimes, but there are those occasions when you can see some examples of micromanaging taking place, which really disempowers people. Or maybe you see someone who struggles to coach their team members and would rather, maybe you've witnessed or you've heard about criticizing rather than giving constructive criticism. And I can go on with that list. But my point is that once you've identified it, you want to also be able to do something about it. So in our current job situation, right, we're trying to keep our staff while also we're struggling to fill open positions at the same time. We put up with leadership skills gaps, and that's what I call those supervising managers that are great at supervising and managing, but maybe not so great and have some hurdles to overcome when it comes to leadership. Well, they have leadership skills gaps right now that probably should be addressed. And maybe you don't have time right now to do that because you don't have anyone to replace them. Um, or maybe letting this person go is just going to cause even further issues for you with keeping the doors open or keeping your lobbies open for future customers or to be able to provide high quality services. But, I've been there, people, I know how you feel. Just like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and that you have to put up with anything and everything. But what I learned was that by not addressing leadership skills gaps or offering training, by not offering training that would support the career growth of another person, um, or even the growth of the organization. And in some cases, letting that person go can be one of the worst things that you probably can do to yourself, because sometimes you don't feel good about yourself when you have to let people go. But also, it could be a worse situation for the other employees and the business as a whole. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you create a strategy or put something in place or practice in place in which you can support the growth of direct or frontline supervisors to help them to hone in on what their leadership skills gaps are. So I don't want to keep you long this evening. So here are a few tips that can help you to support those supervising managers that have leadership hurdles that they may need to overcome, that with some time and maybe some training, mentoring, and coaching, things will turn out and will be down the line just great. So why don't you grab something to write with and a piece of paper, because you might want to jot a couple of these tips down. So the first tip that I want to talk about is making sure that managing supervisors understand that there is a difference between managing and leading people. Now, you may think that is so common and that individuals know that there is a difference, but you sometimes can tell in their leadership behavior or lack thereof that there is no clear delineation for them, the difference between the two. And, managers typically are responsible for administering and controls in relationship to things. And then leading involves engaging people, motivating people, inspiring people, getting those people to do their best, to be their best toward achieving goals. But when you have the right mix of an individual that has quality or high quality management skills, supervisory skills, and leadership skills, those individuals, they make the best leaders, okay? So you want to make sure that you understand the difference between managing people and also the difference between leading people, so that those that are reporting to you or up under you or even working alongside you know that there's a difference between the two. Tip number 2, make sure that managing supervisors understand that their responsibility is for engaging in the potential of future leadership. Now, I continue to mention supervising managers or managing supervisors, but also this includes frontline leaders as well. Making sure that they engage in the potential of future leaders. You always want to encourage the creation, of a pipeline of good leaders. You never know what spots in the future could come open in which you have clearly way more candidates for that one job than you probably would have even dreamed of. And so by creating that leadership pipeline, gives you, it supports the capacity for you to be able to fill those open positions, not just because they become open, but you're also actually able to fill those positions quicker while also saving your agency cost of hiring externally, in which the onboarding probably won't take as long. You don't have to train someone the ins and outs of the organization because they came from within the organization. So they already know. So not only is there cost savings to you, you also have a time savings. Tip number 3, you know what? If you have frontline supervisors with leadership skills gaps, you want to make sure that you're checking in with them regularly. Sometimes when we see that we have leaders that have skill gaps, that we don't want to take the time to spend time with them because of our fear of micromanaging them, or our fear of driving them away. So what you want to do is make sure that you provide and you make time for training and coaching, and allow those individuals access to professional development, mentoring, being coached by a person like myself. What you don't want to do, you guys, is you don't want to have a funnel of great leaders with the same leadership skills gap as the person that you've identified that could or needs a little bit more leadership development. Now, when supervising managers, when that supervising manager learns something new in terms of their skills gaps, their blind spots, they can also teach that something new to other people. So you kind of get 2 for 1 in this situation when you're encouraging and you're, you are identifying skills gaps, and then also investing in that person at the same time, because they're essential part of your business organization. And tip number 4, you know what? Make sure you have, or you create or you establish times and opportunities for employees to complete surveys, and not just some of the employees, but all of the employees. And make sure you add an incentive for completing an employee survey. Sometimes you might have to, put on those surveys closed-ended questions and open-ended questions. You want to leave a space on that survey for those open-ended questions for that employee to put their name in case you wanted to contact them to follow up a little bit more on maybe a comment or a concern that they have. What this will do is this will possibly identify, where there could be some problem areas or issues in terms of leadership right now. And so those blind spots that were hidden from you begin to surface or bubble up to the top. And then you can come up with a plan, to address the situation or what's happening. And hopefully the next time when you conduct that same survey, that a different set of issues may crop up, or matter of fact, no issues at all. And that would be great too, right? And then last tip number 5 is I want you to make sure that you give your frontline supervisors open and honest, constructive feedback. Constructive feedback is good, you guys, and don't give constructive feedback just based off of what someone else told you. Make sure you give them constructive feedback based off of what you've observed as examples of how you have witnessed some behaviors that possibly there could be some work that could be done around, right? So, when you talk about what you've witnessed and you compile that with those things that other people have observed and have shared with you, it makes the constructive feedback sessions a little bit easier. It's not a session based off of all secondhand information, but, feedback that is genuine and is authentic. And not only does it come from the person's colleagues that wants them to be the best that they can be, but also comes from you because you want them to be the best that they can be. So giving people feedback is a great way, for frontline supervisors to reflect on their potential skills that need improvement, while also developing a plan to elevate their current skills and address their skills gaps. Most importantly, before I leave, I want you to know that it's important to invest in your employees, because when you do, it does support your bottom line. You want to make sure that you create opportunities that will develop future and managing supervisors who will lead, who's going to motivate, who's going to inspire. And because in the long run, what will happen is those individuals, as well as yourself, will continue to contribute to the growth and success of your company or business organization. Well, those are all the tips that I have for you today. If you appreciated and found these tips helpful and valuable, please make sure to share, like, subscribe. Also, you can even leave a comment. And if there's some tips or other tips that you would like to hear more about, drop me a line down there. Let me know. I want to make sure that we create opportunities to develop future managing leadership, because their growth and success also becomes your growth and success. I know it's been a long day, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.